Welcome back to Southeast Texas Weekly. I'm Kevin Steele. Great to have you with us today. Joining us to get further involved in this conversation, Godfrey Leggett, our Democratic activist. Great to see you, sir.
Nice to be here, Kevin.
We appreciate you coming in, as always.
Thanks, Godfrey.
Medicaid is right in the crosshairs right now in the state of Texas. Healthcare News reports that 1.5 million enrollees would be newly eligible for Medicaid under the healthcare reform passage.
Well, that's the thing. It's like a double-edged sword for Texas because they're out of money. They're trying to cut things at all levels, trying to get all the departments to give back money or lower their budgets because they're out of money. And they really need this money from the government, but taking the money brings along with it the increase in the number of eligible Medicare recipients.
Should Texas opt out of the federal matching funds?
Actually, Godfrey's right. It does bring in these additional enrollees, but it also brings in additional requirements for what type of care
What do you say actually?
As well.
What do you say actually right? He's often right, isn't he?
Well, you know, that's debatable.
Okay.
But seriously, what it does is it not only brings in additional enrollees, but it also brings in additional requirements as well. That the federal funding is a one-time, 1 year, 2 year funding that then the state ends up having to keep the enrollees while it ended up.
That is correct.
Funding
It sets up a structure that the state's supposed to continue with.
That's right.
Except it doesn't fund it the next year.
It doesn't fund it. And so now we have to make the choice. Do we accept the money now? Is it a pay me now or pay me later sort of situation?
Shane, this is why we needed to have single-payer health care, because it would take care of this problem and make it go away.
What we do is have the federal government serve in an appropriate role. That's the way these things happen. You don't do it by acquiescing to the full enchilada, by just saying, I don't like the tacos. I mean, that's not the answer.
The Republicans say, look, let the rich people have the money. It'll trickle down to them. We'll take care of them. Don't tell the states what to do. The states will set up something to take care of all these poor people that are sick. Really? Where's it at? Where's the
We've got
structure
it right
to do
now.
that?
The CHIPS program that we have right now, we don't even have full enrollment in that.
That's for children.
Look, we have to, even right now, both for food stamps, for every single state aid program that we have, we actually have to advertise to get people to participate. We have schools that get people to participate in the subsidized lunch program because they don't have enough people sign up of their own volition. And so to increase these programs and force people into the system, it's just not a proper thing.
Here's a quote for you. The rich are always going to say, you know, just give us more money and we'll go out and spend more and it will all trickle down on the rest of you. But that hasn't worked for the last 10 years. I hope the American public is catching on.
It didn't work in the 80s?
No, it didn't. You know who said that?
Probably Warren Buffett.
That's exactly who said it.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because he's a bright man, he's a good investor, and we should all listen to him.
So he should be the king?
He'd do a lot better than the Republican folks would.
Look, here's the overall point. It's not about people, not letting people keep their money that they have made and earned. That's not your decision to make. The question becomes one.
No, actually, that's your decision as tax assessor collector.
No, actually, it's not. It's actually not.
I'm picking on you.
Yeah, I understand. The thing is, there's 2 points. There's one philosophical, there's one economical. First is that people generate income from their labor.
That's true.
The people have an inherent right to retain their labor no matter how they've generated, as long as it's ethical and no fraud and theft, etc.
And they should kick in some to the government.
They should pay for services provided by the government.
That's true.
Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that a politician should come in and strip that out on behalf of one group from another group and then claim credit for it and then call those people names when they say, you know what, I can't give that person a job because you're stripping it and using for your own devices.
Is that like the Republicans that rail against the stimulus plan and then stand up there with the big checks and say, see what money I got for us in this district?
That's a whole different matter.
Well, it's the same.
Well, furthermore, let me ask.
Hypocrisy is hypocrisy. But
yeah, exactly. And there's plenty of it around.
That's not the philosophical argument. That's a political argument. We're talking about basic ideas of how government ought to work.
Godfrey, let me ask this question. When it comes to the comments by economic advisor Larry Summers in the White House telling the president if this is overturned, the proposals on the tax cuts is overturned, the economy could, like, literally
I believe he's
crash.
correct. Because if both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats, don't hammer out some kind of tax plan and let the taxes go up on everybody, Shane was right when he said about that. It would really hurt the country. And it could drive us into a double dip recession.
The thing is, some of us have been saying this for a couple of years, and we have certainly been saying it quite a bit for the last 10 months, and now finally the president is learning to exercise a little bit of leadership, and we're seeing some people
He's
like
got a gun.
Godfrey,
He's
who's
got a gun.
reasonable.
He's got a gun to his head. He's
But
forced
you've
to
already
accept this
acknowledged-
compromise.
Well, it's not about whether he's been forced to accept it. You've acknowledged the point that it is a good economic move.
At
That's
this
the
moment in
key.
time, yes.
Leave the politics to the side. And
Well, no, the politics
I've
are
had
always
two Democrats sit here today and already acknowledge the argument, regardless of the politics.
If he waited till
the
next year-
argument has been sound for years.
He waited till next year when the Tea Party people get in. He wouldn't have a prayer getting
All I
the
know
13
is,
months of
you're
unemployment.
acknowledging the argument now, and now you're having to navigate
It's a
within your
political
own party the
expediency. That's
political
all.
thing.
Political expediency.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of
You
politics,
said if rates go up, it hurts the economy.
Yes.
That's a
not on rich people, on poor people.
well, let
rates
me
go
ask
up
this.
on rich
Will
people, it
Texas
doesn't
House
matter.
Speaker
because
Joe
rich people
Strauss
don't
make
generate
it?
jobs in.
Joe Strauss.
I'm sorry?
Well, is Speaker Strauss going to make it? Is Speaker Strauss actually going to survive as Speaker?
Anti-Semitism. I can't believe we have anti-Semitism in the state of Texas. That is sad. They want to throw the man out because he's Jewish.
Who's they?
Okay, let's see who we're talking about here. I've got the man's name right here, Strauss. We're talking about
We know
Morrison.
Sure.
Yeah.
And actually, if you actually go and look at his comments, that's not what he said. I know Peter
Well-
personally. And now, are there people using anti-Semitism? Yes. I do not believe Peter is
He
one
said
of them.
that we're a Christian
You need-
group and we should get rid of these Jewish people that are not Christians like us.
I don't
know how to interpret that any other way.
Go and read his exact words. But your point is understood. There are
context.
people using Semitism, but because I know Peter and he's a local guy, I'm going to stand up for him as a man and say that I know he's not anti-Semitic. I may not agree with the way that he phrases some of his things, but I know he's not anti-Semitic. The key point is, your question is Joe Strauss survive? And is there anti-Semitism at play?
You guys don't- What do you
I
think?
do believe that there is some anti-Semitism at play. Do I think that Joe Strauss survives? I do not know. I think the House members, both Democrat and Republican, are probably going to hold pretty strong. Now, whether he should remain or not, I'm a person that doesn't believe that the Speaker of the Texas House needs to be an ideologue. I think he was an effective manager of the House
You would
in the
support
last
him.
session.
You don't want a
I'm
Democratic ideologue, you like a Republican ideologue.
No, I'm comfortable.
support him as Speaker?
As things stand, I'm comfortable supporting Joe Strauss because of the way that Texas House works.
And we have to
even though
leave
I
it there.
disagree with him on certain things, politically.
Well put. We always appreciate seeing
Absolutely.
you. And we're back with more of Southeast Texas Weekly after this. Unfortunately,
You know.
welcome back. The action fast and furious here at Southeast Texas Weekly as we continue to talk politics, and we are joined by Jeffrey Lewis, the Precinct 27 chairman and Republican activist extraordinaire. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you again. Good to see you again, Godfrey.
Godfrey continues on the Democratic side, and we revert to this matter of the Speaker of the House, Joe Strauss, and allegations that he, not allegations, but there are complaints that he, as a Jewish person, is not fit to hold that role. But comments that were not made, by the way, by Peter Morris.
That's correct. I need to correct that because I said Peter Morrison. I misread my notes. It was David Barton, who's a leader of the group called the Wall Builders, and they are in with the Tea Party folks in Kaufman County, and they're really against Joe Strauss because he's not a Christian, not one of them, and that's
Do
not a
you
reason.
support Joe Strauss as Speaker?
I'm not going to get into the partisan divide of who I'm or not a supporting for the House. Last time I checked, I don't even vote myself. So now, one of the arguments against Joe Strauss as Speaker is that he's allowed Democratic chairs, even though Republicans control the House. It's, there's a lot of across the aisle. Some people accuse
It's
him of being a
called consensus
rhino.
building, isn't it?
Some people accuse him of being a rhino, and there's good arguments on both sides for whether or not
Republican
he
in
should be.
name only.
Yeah, right. And
That's a valid reason to
I mean,
oppose someone.
if he gets a primary challenge, that's why it is. I don't think it's motivated by race or
but to
anti-Semitism.
even say the other thing is really out of line.
Whatever was said, but I'm sure that doesn't speak for the consensus of those that want to see Joe Strauss remove as Speaker. I don't think there's a motivation behind there.
I understand, but apart from the controversial remarks, there are there are accusations that the current Speaker, Strauss, has not been conservative enough in his methodology
I
in the
don't
Texas
think
House.
there's many people could be conservative enough for some of these Tea Party folks.
What do you believe when it comes to this matter of maybe Representative Chisholm from Pampa coming into office and in being far more conservative, actually upsetting the balance and causing far more acrimony in the House?
I'd like to see Strauss stay. I'd like to see all our elected officials start to work with one another. I've been harping on that for a long time, but this ideological divide, where we've got our corner and you've got your corner, and we don't meet ever in the middle. We don't talk to each other. We don't cooperate with each other. That's not good for the country.
That's absolutely right.
Does the DREAM Act get passed in the Senate?
I don't think it's a bad thing, but of course, people that are dead set against immigration don't like it.
The DREAM Act, of course, the measure that would allow the
young men that maybe got into the country, or women illegally. But they've been here, living here, not causing any problems. They've gone to school. They've, been good contributing members of society. If they get higher education, or if they go to
college
the military,
for 2 years, or go into the military.
Here's the problem: we're actually giving benefits to those to the illegals, which are by definition of the DREAM Act illegal.
Yes, of course.
If we're actually giving them benefits that we're not even giving to our own countrymen. You get tuition waivers because you're here illegally. That doesn't make sense to me. I live in the state of Texas, and I pay a lot of money in tuition right now.
Godfrey?
And I kind of think it's
if they
offensive
have good
to do
test
that.
scores and they're going to apply themselves, why not let them have a chance?
They have a chance.
There's a whole lot of people that have money and don't do well in school because they just don't apply themselves.
How do you answer the accusation that they are, by nature, illegally here?
Well, yes, but whose fault is that? That's our fault for allowing the situation to occur. We should have dealt with this. All the illegal immigrants we have in this country. It's our fault. We allowed them to come in.
Yeah, it's because you're not enforcing immigration policy.
Because the Republicans and the Democrats, neither one have done their job in the last 10 years.
You're absolutely right.
And it's because they're too busy harping at each other and not talking to each other, and that's the major problem in this country right now.
Right, and one side wants to say that we're racist because you think you ought to come across the border legally. The other side wants to demonize those that are trying to make ends meet and want to come America where we really do have a land of success.
Quickly, what are some of the most important bills that have been proposed so far in the state of Texas? We have word on several bills. So what do you think the most important of the proposals has been?
I really don't keep up too much with Texas politics. So I don't really have an opinion.
Which of these do you like the best? The cyberbullying bill? Do you like the bill that would, actually speaking on illegal immigration, it would be very much similar to the bill in Arizona that was so controversial?
Of the two, I think the latter one is a stronger bill. I think before we do anything, we're going to have to continue with the court proceedings and how the immigration.
Do you think Arizona Light will be passed in Texas?
Will it be passed? We'll pass it. Do you think that won't be a problem?
It'll go to the courts. The courts will challenge it. We need to get the federal government off dead center on this issue. This is the federal government's responsibility, and we should get our legislators in Washington to deal with this problem. It's time
to deal with this problem based on what their constituents want.
Yes.
Because there's a great many Texas constituents who want Bible classes in their schools.
That shouldn't happen. I'm sorry. We need to keep government and religion separate.
An elective class for Bible classes in school.
I wouldn't want to see a class teaching the Quran. I wouldn't want to see the class teaching the Bible
that's the problem you get into
in a public school.
If you say, well, let's teach the Bible, what about the Quran? What about the Hindu? What about this Buddha?
But you're
all the
speaking
different
in
religions.
terms of what the people want, and many Texans want to have.
You may be unhappy sometimes what you
Why
get
is this not being taught at home? That's where the proper structure for it is. In fact, a lot of our education belongs at home.
This is legislation that's being proposed because Texans have said, "Hey, put that out there."
This is something that should be done by the parents and by the school, by the churches, not the schools.
Not the schools. And they have spoken. And they've spoken staunchly and in support of their parties. And we appreciate it. Great to see you guys.
We're speaking in support of America, you know that.
Great Americans, one and all. Thanks so much for your joining us, and thank you for joining us as well on Southeast Texas Weekly. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another installment. See ya.